Meeting April 16, 2019, regular meeting, 6:30 p.m. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight for our meeting. At this time, I'm going to ask everyone to stand for a moment of silence. No pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think that Mr. Talby is out of town on a business trip at this time, and he couldn't make it. Actually, Richie, Tommy Lasorda's doing a baseball game, and said she was on her way. Said the game was tied, but she had to leave anyway. So she said she'd be on her way. So I guess Ms. Dempsey will just make note of when she does get here. Item number 1, review of the agenda. Any additions, amendments, or anything to our agenda at this time?
I'd like to offer one up on item number 19. It says to consider approval of a George Rogers Clark High School French students trip to Normandy. I'd like to change that to acknowledge the George Rogers Clark High School French students trip to Normandy. That is not a school trip. It's not school sponsored. It's just wanted you to have that information. They just it happens to be led by one of our teachers, and it's a tour company, so it's not actual school trip.
Pretty much something they do every year.
They do every year.
Board members fine with that change? Are we good with that? Okay. If there is nothing else, I'll ask for an adoption of the agenda with the amendment. I'd like to make that motion. Motion by Mr. Heisel.
Second.
Second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
3-0. Item number 3, approval of minutes for the March 19, 2019 regular meeting and March 26, 2019 special meeting. Any questions or additions or corrections to either of those? Good. I'll go ahead and make the motion, and since there's not a lot of us here, right, you guys might get tired right now for a while. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for March 19th, 2019 regular meeting and March 26th, 2019 special meeting. I'll second that motion. Mr. Heisel, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
3-0. No recognitions at this time, and public comments or anybody?
No.
Nothing on there. Item number 4, consider approval of 2019-2020 final allocations to school councils. Mr. Christie.
Recommend the adoption of the final allocations. There have been no changes from the tentative allocation presented in March. It's exactly as presented then.
Exactly what we approved at the
Yes.
time. Questions for Mr. Christie from anyone, or?
Just to confirm, I saw the same thing, just the dates have changed and the formatting and.
Well, we said we would go back and look at the attendance and look at everything and the projected enrollments, and nothing had changed. So it remained the same.
If there's no further comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
3-0. Item number 5, consider approval of second reading to the revision of policy 04.312, school activity funds. Mr. Christie.
Again, the recommendation to approve the policy, there was no changes, no recommended changes from the board, and there's no changes since you approved it.
Questions,
On
comments
first reading.
from board members? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion for the second reading to the revision of policy 04.312, school activity funds.
I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Consider approval second reading to the revision of policy 04.31, authority to encumber and expend funds. Mr. Christie?
Same thing as the one prior. Make the recommendation to approve second reading. There were no changes recommended by the board, and none have been made since you last approved it.
Questions, comments? I'll make the motion as written. Have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Number 7, consider approval of capital funds request. Mr. Christie?
First off, would recommend approval of the capital funds request. This is something we do annually. It's for funds that have been expended from your general funds that we can request reimbursement for. Each year, that number that we're allowed to request is getting lower each year. I think this number would finish us off for what we're allowed to ask for a capital outlay request for. It's to go back and it would kind of reimburse us back for the food serving line at Concrete, food serving line at Campbell, and for the KISTA debt bond for buses. Those are all allowable expenses by KDE.
So what is that based on, Mr. Christie? Why does it get lower?
That's something that the legislators are doing, KDE. They're limiting the amount that you can use.
It's not a formula, they're just arbitrarily
It's-
deciding.
Well, I wouldn't say arbitrarily. It's dropped about like half each, or something like that each year.
Ma'am?
Yes.
It's different calculations based on the type of expenses you're requesting. So, each year legislation changes how they calculate that. The year before, it was like a rolling average of 3 years. Last year, it was just a 50%. This year, it's only operating costs, and it's 50% again this year. These don't fall into that calculation category. Debt, you can request the KISTA debt, any amount if you have capital available. And then and our serving lines are on our facilities plan. So because those are on our facilities plan, we can in turn request the full amount of those back. So it depends on the category of what you're requesting. But there is still some calculations that are 50%, it just depends.
Other questions, comments?
If I could ask Ms. Ellis a question, you responded to me today, and I still wasn't able to figure it out, I'm sorry. So what will the impact be to the general fund contingency if this is passed, or if any?
So the food serving lines, to initially pay for those, we took those out of contingency just to be able to get them ordered and installed to make this request. So that money will go back straight into contingency. It's about $101,000. The KISTA bond debt will go back on the debt service line of it will just basically undo some of the payments you've paid out at this point. So it will look like we've not spent our budgeted amount because it's taking that back off of that year-to-date expense.
So the last part's not a contingency item, but is just in terms of.
It's a
yeah.
general fund item because we have a debt service line for KISTA that you're showing right now a year-to-date amount paid out. So that year-to-date amount will basically go down because this money will replace it basically.
Okay,
So-
thank you, ma'am.
Other questions? I'll move to approve as written. Have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3-0. Item number 8, review of the third quarter finances for the general fund. Mr. Christie and of course Ms. Ellis is here also.
I would recommend the approval of the finances as printed, but would defer questions if you have any to Ms. Ellis.
Questions or comments from members?
Ms. Ellis, I sent an email, it was late last night, so I don't know if you had a chance to look at it or not, but when I looked at the numbers all together, it certainly what jumps out at me is, I guess if you take the contingency usage out, that it's still continuing to be an imbalanced year. Is that the way you're projecting it still?
It is an imbalanced year. We started the year imbalanced due to salaries because we gave a 2 and a 4% increase in our salaries, but we did not raise our taxes to match that. So we did start the year imbalanced on current year reoccurring dollars when we take contingency up.
640 is what I have.
Could I ask a follow-up question then? In looking at the budget summary, sort of in comparison to this, one of the things that really stands out is certified permanent salary seems to be running higher than we projected. Is that a timing issue, or is that real?
I think your email was actually comparing it to this time a year ago. So in that comparison, it is higher. One, we've done 2% raises yet again on this year, and also we've not budgeted several growth positions. We've had 2 ESL teachers, 4 growth position teachers, and multiple stipend increases, which you all approved those schedules last year. So, I mean, when you take all that into consideration, our payroll this year is much higher than our payroll last
And I
year.
might add in addition that we've hired SRO officers after that, after the budget was completed, we've hired additional SRO officers that would show up in that salary part that wasn't there in the original budget.
And then I guess a maintenance employee also?
Yeah.
So there's been multiple positions added since the budgeting cycle that aren't, the budget's not been increased, but the year-to-date expenses have been increased due to those.
So accepting out the changes that the board has made and specifically adding personnel, do you think the budgeted number we had from last year, I guess in December, by the time we get to the end of this year, you think that particular line item should still be in the same area as what we budgeted for, accepting those specific changes? Or is it too early to
I don't
tell?
quite understand your question.
How close do you think we'd be able to come to our budget if we accept out the additional people that we specifically added, or is it too early to say?
I think we'll be very close with not changing the budget, but adding the positions. When you think about the turnover of staff, when we started our budgeting process, we had some people in there that have since retired, so we budgeted really high for their positions, but people who have been rehired in those positions are much cheaper because they're new into the educational system, so their salaries are not quite that high. And the same thing with, on the classified side, we budgeted retirement, which is extremely high on the classified side, but the first year that we bring in new classified people, they don't pay into retirement, so we budgeted pretty high on classified benefit-wise. So between your salary and benefits, I think we'll be very close without going over. I don't believe we would go over budget by the end of the year.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
I think on a good note from talking to Mr. Christie, our seat allocations, which is not reflected into this, right?
Not
The
yet.
budget was increased, but year-to-date has not been
Right, yeah.
received yet.
And that was, what, 200?
About
224,000
224,000 additional seek monies that we got.
And we also know that our school's doing a good job on attendance. We're about 1.5% up, and that's a pretty good increase looking into next year as well. Ms. Ellis, based on what you've seen there in third quarter, and I know it's a little bit early maybe for predictions or whatever, what will you think that we'll carry over into next year?
We're trending exactly as we have the last 2 years, which I feel like we will not spend entirely what we budgeted always, other than contingency one-time expenses that come out. So I'm projecting about 12 million we will roll over.
Okay. That's still pretty healthy contingency right there for us. What's that reflect, about 8, 17?
Yeah, that-
I'm sorry.
What
What's percentage,
is
you
it?
know what that is?
17, 18?
I didn't calculate. that.
That's all right.
I didn't either, but I'd
Probably
say 17, 18.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on this report? Otherwise, I guess we just need to acknowledge that we reviewed it.
Do you need a motion to acknowledge that?
I'm assuming we do, yes.
Okay. Mr. Ritchie, you have any questions? Well, I'll make the motion to acknowledge that report then.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Heisel. We have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor signify saying aye.
Aye.
4-0. Number 9, consider approval of resolution with Kentucky Office of Homeland Security project for vests for school resource officers. Mr. Christie.
A motion to approve the application process for this. We basically have purchased those, and this would be a reimbursement to the district for the purchase of those. It's grants through the Kentucky Homeland Security Office. Since this has come up in the past, and this one, we've had to rely on other counties to what's called ILO officers, intelligence liaison officers, and you have to have, and now the laws have changed where you must have one of those in your district. We can't use an officer from someone else's district to get this after this one. So, and since this has come up, Mr. Stump and I have both gone to Homeland Security, and we've both been certified as, I can't even say it hard, intelligence liaison officers for the Homeland Security. So we now are certified to approve these grants ourselves. Now, that's not just for the vest, but it's for other equipment for our SROs. Could even lead into the possibility at some point down the road of vehicles and everything else that we've been trying to purchase on our own in the past. So this is and now that they've changed it to where if you don't have an ILO officer in your district, you can't apply for these.
So what was that ILO again? Intelligence?
Intelligence liaison officer.
All right, I'll reserve comment.
Need to look that up and see what all that is. It's about an 8 or 10 hour training, I know that.
Any questions or comments on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Hines. All those in favor signify say aye. Aye. That's 4-0. Have you got a report on the score? Did you win or lose yet?
Lost the whole time.
No coaching.
They made the coach leave.
There you go. All right, item number 10, consider approval of pay application number 16 to Codell Construction Contractors and Suppliers for the George Rogers Clark High School Gymnasium Athletic Fields Project, BG 16-238, in the total amount of $845,791.98.
Recommendation to approve pay application for Codell.
Any questions, comments from board members?
If I could ask one question, if I read it correctly, which I may not have it, I thought it implied that the slab in the gym was 85% done. I might not have read that correctly. Does that sound right? Were we there?
The gym floor is down. What's left is pretty much that front foyer area.
Oh, wow. That's great news.
Right, and they've got resting slabs that are in.
Yeah. The frame, the steel work is probably 85-90% complete on that front area, so they'll be ready here soon to pour the rest of that. The rest of that floor will be completed. But the actual gym floor inside's poured concrete.
Wow.
I know Mr. Codell had put a date of the 24th trying to get that roof done. Are we,
We'll be close.
do we think we're close on that?
Getting close on that, I think,
Like
right.
heading on and things like that?
Just keep
And
hoping for this weather like we've had.
like I said, it's been pretty good so far, but you never know with that. And also the issue with the clock, is that being resolved? I know this letter was written on April the 3rd about the scoreboard, I guess, 4 o'clock on the football field. Are we?
Well, and John Hagan isn't here. We have a construction meeting Thursday, so we
Okay.
will get some resolution to it
Okay.
as we move toward that one on Thursday. But
Right. You did approve, and the vendor, Daktronics, has had their engineer getting the foundation drawings completed. We forwarded those on to Codell just recently to get pricing for the actual foundation for the scoreboard. And I think that we were having conversations about an auxiliary shot clock on the other end of the field.
yes.
Yeah. I just, when he writes in there that we're in desperate need,
Yeah.
that's, I don't want us to be holding things up. I mean, I'll yell at you all for not getting things ready, so, with that, but, sounds, I mean, I'm looking forward to going out Thursday myself and maybe taking a little.
Well, and I will tell you, as a board, I think give it another probably 30 days, and then I'll start to schedule some tours to where we can all go out there and we can start to walk through it, and hopefully it'll be dried up enough and enough of the concrete down that we're not walking through mud everywhere, but I plan on setting it up to take all of you all on tours of the entire facility out there.
Any other questions, comments, board members? Not, I'll entertain a motion for this item.
I'll make a motion to approve as written.
Ms. Richardson there, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ritchie. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item number 11, consider approval of pay application number 1514-28 to Ross Trant Architects for the George Rogers Clark High School Gymnasium Athletic Project BG 16-238 in the amount of $9,328.23.
Recommendation to pay the pay application as requested by Ross Tarrant.
Any questions or comments from board members on that one? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make that motion.
Mr. Heisel makes a motion, I'll second it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item number 12, consider approval of pay application number 1829-07 to Ross Trant Architects for the George Rogers High School Field House and Athletics Project BG 18-334 in the amount of $558.82. Mr. Christie,
Recommendation for payment application to Ross Tarrant.
questions, comments, board members? I'll make the motion as written. Have a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Ritchie. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Number 13, consider approval pay application number 2 to Codell Contractor Suppliers for the George Rogers Clark High School Field House Athletics Project, BG 18-334, in the amount of $148,804.34. Mr. Christie,
Recommendation to pay application number 2 to Codell Contractors.
questions or comments from board members? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion as written.
Motion by Ms. Ritchie, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Item number 14, consider approval of change order number 1912 to Rising Sun Developing for the George Rogers Clark High School Gymnasium Athletic Fields Project BG 16-238 in the amount of $9,924.50. Questions or for Mr. Christie?
The recommendation for the payment of for the change order, and I'll enter, if there's any questions, I'll explain that. Well, I know we did in a meeting, we talked about not to exceed $9,500. That was for the main logo, the big cardinal head. The cardinal logo did not exceed the $9,500. It was when the discussion later on entered in to add the 2 GRC letters on the corners of the field. Those they cost $420 above the $9,500. So you have in front of you there, the change order includes all of that. If you wish to not add the GRC letters on the field, there's a deduction that could be made for that, and it would take it back down to the $9,500. You just wouldn't have those on the field.
Questions, comments from board members?
Mr. Christie, I sent you an email regarding the second GRC. I just want, before we approve
Yeah,
that, I want to make
and-
sure we got the right direction. 'cause
Well,
don't want the
I
building
think I gave you
upside
some
down.
misinformation on it. I think now the consensus is, it's up to, it's probably up to you all, but
We bring the master plan in. Well, I brought an image in here. This is directly from the Vesio Sports Field. This is their shop drawing. They've got a bunch of technical information, and then they also have the master plan here, which is the large, right, oh, yeah, that's it right there.
without any logos at all.
There you
you
go. So this is the overall proposed master plan with the Cardinal Head logo replacing the big GRC in the middle that we discussed. but also this is showing the GRC at the 25-yard line. The only question is that it's kind of a 50-50 as
Yeah.
to whether the GRC, now imagine that your home stands are here at the bottom of the screen and the visitors is at the top of the screen. Like right now at Kroger Field for UK, they put the SEC logos both facing the home side. I think part of the reason they do that is over the filming, you know, when you have the games televised and you want that SEC logo to be visible from both ends of the field or all to the one direction where they're primarily using the cameras. A lot of times at the high school level, you'll see the GRC in the upper left-hand corner turned and actually facing the visitor side. So it's a simple question of whether you want the home field visitors to see the GRC or the home side to have the GRC facing them, to have either both of them facing like they are in this image, which is the shot drawing that we received from them, or do we want to turn that one? And
Strictly your call.
now's the time to do it before we send it back to them saying this is approved, if you choose tonight to approve the change order with the additional expense. The initial price we got was a range of 9,000 to 10,000. I can certainly understand Mr. Talby just kind of indicating a not to exceed 9,500, but at that time we had not included the GRC. I say small, even though they're 7 feet tall on the field. The Cardinal head is 54 feet tall, almost the same width right there at the center of the field. So it's really the board's pleasure at this point. I can leave it like this on the shop drawing and return it, or we can just mark that up as having that turned to face the visitors.
Or if you don't want to do the additional $424, they would come out
We'll just
completely.
delete it.
Both of them would come out and leave the Cardinal head only. It is a decision that is critical at this point, because this is things going into production.
Yeah, I'll tell you, they already are fabricating the field.
The field part, but they're ready to
The
start
actual
cutting
field
in
part, now it's a
logos.
question of whether they go ahead and do these extra letters, and they'll come out and actually locate those and cut that into the turf. They'll actually cut that and inlay that.
Colored turf.
And reseam that into the actual turf once the turf is down. So they're gonna be wanting to know whether they fabricate those letters.
I kind of like the point you made about keeping it this way. You know, we don't know what we'll be doing 10 years from now, televising these games or whatever. If you are on that end of the field, you would be televised, you would see GRC instead of looking at something upside down. So I like that point, but I don't think it's a mountain to die on for me, but whatever, whatever y'all want. I just think, you know, we'll give the benefit to the home crowd.
When you think about graduation and if you're out on the field, then most of your people will be in the 4,000 seat side. You know, I'm sure there'll be some others maybe on the
Pictures
on the visitor
taken.
side, but pictures
Taken
taken,
and all
right.
that, so.
Mhm.
From my perspective, I'm fine spending the extra money for the GRCs. I like the GRCs, and I'm really open as to which way they're flipped. I just wanted to make sure that we had it specified, so somebody didn't say, "Dadgummit, how come it was that way?" What do you think?
I
What do
agree
you-
with
what do
you.
y'all think?
Yeah, I think it looks nice that way. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good with
And I'm
that.
good to spend.
Sounds good. Looks like as is then to me.
Okay.
But we take, well,
Appreciate the
let's
input.
get the motion, and I guess we should put in there something at the end of the motion as presented also, or something maybe, just so we know that that's been
Okay.
put in
Or
there.
as referenced in the shop
As referenced,
drawings.
okay.
Or in the packet, I guess.
Either
Because it's the
way.
only thing we've
That's
seen.
the shop drawing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have a motion.
All right, I'll make the motion that we approve change order 19-12 to Rise and Sun Developing for the George Rogers Clark High School Gymnasium Athletic Field Project BG 16-238 in the amount of $9,924.50 with those changes as more particularly described in the item that was included in our packet for item 14.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Internal board business, under superintendent's evaluation summary report. I will read that for the record. Evaluation of the superintendent's summary report, Clark County Board of Education, April 16, 2019. The Board of Education of Clark County School District has completed the annual evaluation of Superintendent Paul Christie for the 2018-19 school year. Past year has brought about many exciting changes with the ongoing construction of our high school athletic facility. We continue to see improvement in our district schools and are looking forward to the challenges ahead. The election of 2 new members to our board has us more than ever focused on moving our district in a positive direction. The evaluation focused on 7 standards of performance and a brief review of goals set by previous boards. Superintendent Christie received a rating of exemplary in the areas of cultural leadership, managerial leadership, and influential leadership. The board rated him as accomplished in the following standards: strategic leadership, instructional leadership, human resource leadership, and collaborative leadership. The board reviewed and felt that Superintendent Christie had performed well on the goals set with previous boards. The board has challenged Superintendent Christie to meet with his cabinet and school administrators to establish challenging and measurable goals. It is our desire that the superintendent, all staff of the Clark County School System, and the Board of Education work together as a team to meet the needs of our students. Other comments from board members? I don't know that we have to acknowledge this, or do you think that's just a statement of?
It's required that you do a public, so I would
Just
I would-
Acknowledge the superintendent, approve the superintendent's evaluation summary, I guess?
I would.
Okay. To approve it then, okay. Then I would need a motion to approve the superintendent's evaluation summary report.
So move.
Who was that, Ashley?
Yep.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second was Richardson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Mr. Fairdo, could we get a copy of that just for our records? Maybe electronically or however. It is?
Yeah.
Is it?
right here.
Okay. I thought, yeah, well, I did put it in the packet. Okay. Was it a late edition?
No, I think so.
Yeah, it should have been, I think,
Yeah. See.
yeah.
Okay. Scratch that then.
Consent agenda items. Is there anything that anyone wants to discuss, pull out, make a comment about before we approve all of these?
I had several questions about number 23 regarding the backhoe, and Mr. Sump was kind enough to explain a lot of those particulars to me. Appreciate you taking the time to do that.
I had some questions as well, and Mr. Christie answered mine, so. If there is nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to approve items 16 through 38 with the, I guess, amendment that Mr. Christie made in item 19.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Heisel. I will second it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
That's right there in front of that.
Item number 39, authorized payment of salaries and accounts payable.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Ritchie. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. No opposed. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Ms. Ritchie,
Second?
second by Mr. Heisel. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it.
I think you mentioned, remember the construction meeting Thursday, if you all want to attend.